with Dayton officials, and where does the state go from here?
Well, let me just go back a little bit. I was notified sometime during the night by my staff what had happened. Early this morning, I think about 6 o'clock, I talked with Nan Whalen and just told her that we were there to be of any kind of help that we could. She commented about, they appreciate working with the patrol. She also told me the FBI was involved. She was very grateful for that. Had an opportunity. A little later, the president called me. The vice president just called me as I was in the show here. The information about what has happened needs to come from people who are on the ground. It really shouldn't come secondhand from me. But what's clear from the facts is that the Dayton Police Department did an absolutely phenomenal job. If you look at what happened, truly heroic. Went right after the problem. Acted in a very, very, very quick manner. If they had not acted when they did, there would have been many, many, many more people killed. We'll never know how many. We'll never know who they are. But the Dayton Police Department just did an absolutely phenomenal job. The first responders were there. They did what they needed to do. Great cooperation from surrounding communities, the police, and the first responders. Dayton had practiced this. You practice for a tragedy. You never hope that you have to implement that practice, but everything they did appears to be right. And I just, I commend them. My heart goes out to the victims and to the victims' families. This is just a horrible, horrible day for Ohio. It's a horrible day for the Miami Valley. The mayor and I, are going to continue to talk. I told her that whatever they needed, that we could be of help. We would do that. I've been in touch with several of the members of our cabinet who are there if they're needed. But the response locally has been a very, very good response. If you, the attention is going to have to be continued to be paid to these victims as the days go ahead. You also have police officers who have been traumatized by what happened. And so it's going to be important that they get the help and they get the assistance that they need in the future. Fran and I will go back tonight for the prayer vigil. The mayor took us into the area where the shooting occurred. The assistant chief of police showed us exactly what had happened and where it had happened. So we appreciate that.
Governor, you had talked of working on red flag legislation to remove guns by court order from those deemed a danger. What is the status of that?
We need to get a bill that can pass. We need a bill, first of all, that is constitutional. We need to get a bill that can pass the state legislature. I believe that we can do both of those things and achieve the third objective, which is to make a difference. I'm not talking about this case because, frankly, we don't know all the facts. There are a lot of things we just don't know yet about what has happened. Tragedies like this, what first goes through your mind is, what did we learn from this? What can we learn in the future? What can we do different that we should do that would not eliminate the chance for something like this? I don't know if you can eliminate the chance for something like this, but rather to lessen the chance that it would occur or to lessen the doubts. In other words, you always look at this as a case study. The facts are, if you look at mass shootings, and I don't pretend to be an expert on mass shootings, but they're all alike in some respects, and they're all different in some respects. And sometimes the lessons you take from one are different from the lessons you take from others. So we need to look at this problem, holistically. Look, we don't know. You asked the question about how to deal with people who have a mental health problem, have been adjudicated, and who have a gun. My friends in the mental health community would point out, I think, that the vast majority of people who have a mental health problem are not violent. That the vast majority of people who have a severe mental health problem are not violent. Terry Russell told me this morning when I called him that the figure is 7%. 7% of people who are severely mentally ill act out in a violent fashion. So what that means is 93% of those people do not act out. And so we have to keep that in consideration as well. But my experience in law enforcement as prosecutor, and then particularly in the last 8 years as the Attorney General, we saw cases clearly where people who had mental health problems, who had addiction problems, who had guns, who stored a lot of guns, and everybody basically knew that there was a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. So there are cases where if you follow due process and follow the Constitution, and that we ought to be able to write a law that follows the Constitution, that can pass the General Assembly, and that will have an impact, that will make things better, that will lessen the chance of people dying. Now, we don't know in this case whether this person had a mental health problem or not. We don't know until all the facts come in. That's why I say that every one of these tragedies is sort of the same, but it's also each one you might pull different lessons from that. So, when I heard this morning, early, first thing always goes through your mind is, okay, what are the lessons learned? What are we going to learn from this? What can we do? And so there's going to be ample opportunity, and certainly we're going to be taking a look at this. Legislature's going to look at it. We're certainly going to look at it.
Governor, even though, like you said, it's early, this is the 250th mass shooting this year in the country. Beyond the red flag law, do you think any other policy changes are needed in the wake of the shootings?
We're open to discussion. We're open to discussion. This is a debate that certainly should take place. So we're open to other things.
Senator Sherrod Brown brought up specifically background checks. What are your thoughts on maybe expanding background checks?
Well, again, first of all, to state the obvious, we don't know whether this was a case where there was a background check problem or not. I've heard some information from Dayton, but I'm not going to be the one who puts out the facts. We're going to let Dayton do that, and the mayor do that. So we don't know whether this is a background check problem or not, just like we don't know this is a mental health problem or not. Everything's on the table. We should have this discussion. I'm just not going to get into it too deep today, simply because we ought to have a day of mourning. We ought to be able to respect the victims and their families on the prayer vigil tonight.
Governor, in Congress, you voted for the assault weapons ban and for a waiting period for purchases. Would those be among the things on the table?
Randy, I'm a pretty pragmatic guy. And my goals in whatever we do are threefold. One, it has to be constitutional. Whatever we do, it has to respect the Second Amendment. Number two, it has to be able to pass the General Assembly. And number three, it has to move the ball. In other words, improve the situation. If you can do all three of those things, then that would sound like something that we certainly should be doing.